Okay, let me have a recap of the previous class. That is, we saw what is an algorithm. It's a well-defined sequence of steps, and a well-designed algorithm will be easily translated into a computer program. And it has 5 characteristics. First one, should be unambiguous instruction. There should not be mixing of instructions in a single step, and it should solve a specified problem in a systematic way, and the input should be given in the algorithm, and the output should be produced in a finite time, and the algorithm should be of the natural language, and it should not have any syntax of any programming languages. And we saw the common data structures: array, linked list, stack, queue, tree, graph. And we saw the algorithm to check if a number is positive or not, and we saw a Java program in it. I've given you the assignment of doing a program and an algorithm for prime number or not, which we'll have a discussion at the end of the session. Today's session is about arrays. So today we'll have a look on data structures and its type, and arrays definition, and array initialization, creation and accessing, and types of arrays, and one-dimensional array, and its examples, and how array is declared and accessed in Java, and a sample program in Java. So data structures is of two types. One is primitive and non-primitive. Primitive is the usual one which we use in the programs like integer, float, string, etc. But non-primitive is of two types. One is linear and non-linear. So under linear, we have arrays, linked list, stack, and queue. And under non-linear, we have trees and graphs. So today's session is on arrays. So in a real world scenario, as we saw in the last session about the department store, you can find that when you go to a department store, all the chocolates of same brand will be together. For example, Dairy Milk will be together, Kit Kat will be together. They won't mix the brands. So same brands will be together. Array is a data structure which stores similar data types. So array can be defined as an orderly arrangement of homogeneous elements. Homogeneous elements means similar type. It is stored in a statically allocated continuous location. That is, contiguous location means continuous location in memory. Since it is stored in continuous location, it is static in nature, and compile time has carry binding, and it is user friendly also. So this is an array which can be mapped, like we can store the elements in continuous memory location. 0 to 9 is a memory location, and the elements stored in the corresponding memory locations are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90, and 100. So all these elements are stored in the continuous memory location from 0 to 9. So the array length is, it's actually 10, sorry, array length is 10. And the first index is 0, and the last index is 9. So array is of two types. One is one-dimensional array, another one is two-dimensional array. So one-dimensional array, so it is a collection of similar items which is represented using a single attribute. And it is called one-dimensional because it is represented by a single indexed or a single subscript. For example, we are going to store the students' marks of a class in an array, in a one-dimensional array. So A is an array name, and 1 to n is the number of elements in the array. So A is the name of the array, and n is the number of elements stored. So we have from A of 1 to A of 2 of A of I. So this is used to represent the index of the array. So for example, I have a marks of 5 students. So they are stored in the corresponding memory location like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I want to access the marks secured by the third student, which is stored in the location A of 2, I have to access like A of 2. When I give A of 2, I get the marks 85. If I want to get the fifth student mark, I have to give as A of 4. So marks secured by the student in a class is 100, 95, 85, 45, and 65. So 85, you can access it by giving it as A of 2. So 2 is the subscript, or it is called the index of the array. So how it is declared in Java. So still now I'll have a recap once more. Like array, it is used to store the homogeneous element that is a similar data type. So you can see we have 10 elements here and is stored in continuous memory location. So this 0 to 9 is the index, that is the memory location. And the elements inside the memory locations are 10, 20 up to 100. So the first index is 0 and the last index is 9. So there are two types. One is one-dimensional array, another one is two-dimensional array. So in one-dimensional array, we have only like A of 2. Just a single index is used to represent an element. But when you come to two-dimensional, you will have rows and columns. But in one-dimensional, there is only a single index like A of 2 or A of 3 or A of 4. So declaration in Java. So the syntax is you have to give the type, whether it is of integer or float. You're going to store all the integers in the array, or you're going to store float numbers, or you're going to store string. It should be specified here. So type should be specified, and then you can give the variable name. And it is followed always by a square brackets. So here you can have either in the type, you can have the square brackets, or at the end of the variable name, you can have the square brackets. Both are valid declarations. So you can see there are many different types, like for integer, int, and then you can give the array name. I've given the array name as int array. You can give any array name like student marks, but finally you are giving it a square bracket to specify this is an array. And then you can give either by giving at the beginning integer, square brackets, then followed by the array name. It can be byte, it can be short, it can be boolean, long, float, double, char. All the following data types can be used for declaring an array. So this is a Java program. Here we have declared the class array, and then we have declared the array of integers at the beginning. Here I've used like, first I followed data type followed by the square brackets, and then I've given the array name. Array name here it is ARR. And then I have to allocate some memory for the array. So I can give like, based on how many elements I'm going to store, I can give the memory, like 5 integers I'm going to store. So I'm allocating memory like ARR is the array name is equal to, you're creating that object new, and then int of 5. So when you give that like this, the memory is allocated for the corresponding array ARR. And then you have to initialize all the elements. So in ARR 0, I'm going to store 10. And in ARR 1, I'm going to store 20. And so on. So this 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all the index, that is the memory locations. In that memory location, I'm going to store the corresponding elements. So how am I going to access and get, I'm going to print it using the for loop. So for like int I is equal to 0, you're giving 3 conditions. First one will be the initialization in the for loop, and then you will be checking a condition, and then you will have an increment condition. So first I'm initializing the iterating parameter as 0, and then I'm checking whether I is less than the array length. You have to check whether it is less than 5. If so, then it is incremented. First it will be 0, then it is incremented 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0 to 4, totally 5 integers will be there. So I'm going to print it like system.out.println is used for printing in Java. So element at index, the I, whatever the iterating stage it is, and then followed by the array of I. The element will get printed. So this I have executed, and the following output is formed, like element at index 0 is 10, and element at index 1 is 20, and 2 is 30, 3 is 40, and 4 is 50. So I'll once again explain this program. Like we'll be having a class and then the main function in Java. So class here is array. Whenever you whatever the class name you have to save the text file also with the same name, as you already know. Then we have main function, and main function will be having the access identifier public. You can have private also. You can have protected also. Public is for giving access to everyone. So then static. Static is used because you need not create objects for the main function so that you can save the memory. Then void is the return type, nothing returns. So void and then main function. And this is syntax. You have to give like string and args. Then you're declaring the array of integers. Either you can declare like the type followed by the square brackets and the array name, or you can give like type followed by the array name and then the square brackets. Any of these is valid. Here it is data type followed by the square brackets and then the array name. You're going to allocate the memory. So it is like ARR is equal to new int of 5. Whenever we are allocating in Java, we'll use a new keyword and then allocate it, and then you have to initialize. So first the declaration of array using the format, and then you have to allocate some memory for the array, and then you have to initialize for each index what element are you going to store. So for 0 it is 10, and for 1 it is so. Always followed by array name, then the square bracket you will have the index or the subscript 0 to 4. And then whatever element you're going to store, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. I have used for loop to print the elements inside the array. So for loop will have the initializing variable, and then the condition, and then the increment statement. So here I is equal to 0, then I'm checking whether the array, that is ARR dot length, is less than ARR dot length, then I'm incrementing it. So at each iteration, the element gets printed. So that is what the output. So at I is equal to 0, 10 gets printed, 1, 20, 2, 30, 340, and 450. So you can refer these two books for the data structures. One is by Villay Publications, and one is by GK Publications, chapter 5, which will be very simpler to understand. So I'll have a recap on this. So we saw like how to declare the array name. It should be followed by the type and then the variable name. Variable name is followed by the square brackets, or you can have type followed by the square brackets and then the variable name. Both the declarations are valid, and you can have different types of data types like integer, byte, short, boolean, long, float, double, and char. But you can have like only integers, means it's all for the array will have full of integers. You can't have mixed of integers and float, because one dimensional array is a collection of similar items, but you're using a single attribute. So it can have only one type. So this is how we declare array, and then we allocate, then we initialize it. So we'll see about that. Okay, so this is about the prime number, which we had a assignment last session. So we know prime number is a number which is divisible by itself and it by 1. For example, 7 is a prime number because it is divisible by 7 and by 1. So here in this program, it takes the number which is entered by the user and checks if it is prime or not. We can check by using a modulus operator. Modulus operator gives us the output, the reminder with which we can check whether it is prime number or not. For example, I'm having the class prime check, And then as usual, you have to have the main function. I'm declaring the variables essentials like temporary variable and a flag like I'm going to make it true or false. So a Boolean variable. So it is prime. I'm setting it to true initially. Now I'm getting the user's input. So for that, I have to use scanner, and based on the input given by the user, I have to check the condition. So first I'm using a for loop. Inside the for loop, as I have said, there will be initializing variable and then the condition, and then the iterating statement. So as you can see here, we have temp. Inside the temp, we'll be having the number which is given by the user. So we are going to check with the modulus operator, that is a modulus I. So once we get the reminder, we'll check whether it is equal to 0. If it is, if the remainder is equal to 0, then this like from 2 till the number, the condition is the number divided by 2. Till that number, we will check whether this number is divisible by all the any other numbers, like from 2 to the number which it is given. For example, if it is 7 means, we will check like till 7 by 2, which is like we'll check till 4. So after checking the condition, if for example in the first case 7 divided by 2, if the condition is false, then it will break, and then it will again increment the iteration, and then it will check whether it is divisible by 3. Again it will check if it is divisible by 4. Again it will check if it is divisible by 5. Again it will check if it is divisible by 6, until the number 7 divided by 7 it comes. Till that the condition will be going on iterating, and then finally if it is not divisible by any numbers and it is divisible only by it, the number itself, there will be a break statement, and then it goes like, if it is prime is true as such, there is no change in the initialization, like Boolean is prime is equal to true has not been changed into false, and then the number is prime. Else if the if it is changed means, then it is not a prime number. So is prime will be turned to true or false. It will stay true if the number is divisible by itself, and it will stay into false if it is being divisible by any other number before it. For example, if 4, if I give 4, then it will be divisible by 2. In that case, is prime will change into false. So it will check the condition. If is prime is true, then it will this statement will not be executed. I mean, is prime is false means this statement will not be executed. It will go to the else statement. So this is how the prime number is checked, and the output is, see, after execution, I have given like after execution, I've given like enter any number 7. So it comes like 7 is a prime number. So it checks 7 with all other numbers before 7 till 6. It will check and then come to a conclusion. Can you write the algorithm for this in next session by mapping from the programming to the algorithm?
Yes.